All right, so I want to take some time to just go over something that I think is pretty important when it comes to scaling, and that is a remote team. Remote teams, I think, are quite important because they allow you to keep your costs low while bringing in skilled and experienced labor that can help you get the tasks that you need done around your business more efficiently. Like maybe you've looked at people who already have remote teams and everything just flows, like projects get done, communication's on point, and somehow they know what everyone's working on without the need of micromanaging. Meanwhile, your team, you have one guy that responds in memes, even though that's me sometimes in our own group. And then you have some people that maybe just go AWOL for days at a time. And sometimes your meetings maybe aren't as structured as you'd like them to be. If it sounds like you, or if it sounds familiar, don't worry, you're not the problem. Really, what it is most remote teams struggle at first, and without having a playbook or some sort of fundamental structure to managing a remote team, it is challenging. So what we're going to be doing is going through a structure, a light playbook. We're not going to go too in depth on some of these things. If you'd like me to go in depth on some of these things, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to make another video in regards to those different topics. But in this video, just going to be a quick rundown on what you would expect or what you need to do when it comes to managing a remote team. So first thing you want to do is set the foundation. At the start, when you have a remote team, everything is kind of all over the place because it's your first time. You don't know what's happening. When it comes to starting a remote team, you want to do all of the tasks yourself first. You want to make sure that you have a good understanding of every single piece of your business and create SOPs around those different tasks, whatever they are. With all of those things, you want to consolidate it into what I call an operations manual. And inside of this manual, what you want to do is establish how you communicate, what the core hours are, when you're online, when you're offline. And you also want to put all of your SOPs, all of the processes that you've developed inside of this operations manual. It's going to help you have a centralized location that your team can refer to so that they're not messaging you or calling you for things that may not be as important as maybe the other tasks on your to-do list as a business owner. Another thing you want to do when it comes to your organization is understand that your team is human. They are remote, they are in different places, and they do things differently. However, they are still human. One of the things that I have had to train some of my on-site managers, my in-person managers that I work with here in person, is you have to humanize all of your interactions. It doesn't have to be work all the way, all the time. Having your operations manual is a good foundation because it sets an expectation of what the work is and what it should be. And then outside of that is where you actually develop the culture, because now everyone knows what their fundamental purpose is within the organization. However, you communicate that through the operations manual. Maybe I'll create another video on creating an operations manual. But that is one piece of the culture. And then the other piece is making sure you humanize your workforce. Make sure you create a bond with them in whatever regard that is. I'll use an example within my own team. So I have a media team that I have within my organization, and one of my managers is on site, and we have a editor who is in South America. On one of our calls, what was planned for us to do was to just go over some of the vision boards and some of the structure of how we wanted the video production to look like. And when we got onto the call, my manager right away got into work. However, I had to interrupt him and talk about the shirt that our editor was wearing. It was a one-piece shirt, and I just kind of talked about the one-piece shirt and talked about how when I was younger I used to watch it, and kind of asked him how he got into it, how much he enjoys it. And you could see, even though it wasn't in person, you can see from there the energy shifted inside of our meeting, and there was more of a positive energy within the meeting. A business is people, and if you don't create relationships, you can't really scale a business or a remote team. Second point is communication is one of those things that you're going to probably struggle with at the start, and that's okay. Everyone's going to. Initially, when it came to our communication channel, we chose WhatsApp. WhatsApp is pretty popular all over the world. It's easy to get on an iPhone, it's easy to get on an Android. That was what we initially used for our communication. However, we found that to be a challenge as time went on because the thread would get too long for certain departments within the organization. And if maybe you only log in for 2 days a week, you're going to have the extra 5 days worth of information. Although important, maybe only 50% of that information is actually relevant to you. So now you're having to go and skim through some of that information, find the piece or the pieces of information that actually relate to you. So for some of our part-time staff, we found that to be a little bit of an efficiency killer. And what we've done is we've transitioned our communication over to our project management software. Now, this is going to look a little different depending on what tools you use inside of your organization. However, for our organization, we found that shifting our communication to the project management software was the best way to do it, because then we could go to the individual task, create a thread from that individual task that only was relevant to those people. So now we have other people that maybe were in different departments or worked on different projects. They didn't really have to be bombarded with the different things that were happening inside of the thread over here. By moving our communication channel there, we found that it allowed us to be more efficient in how we communicate. However, this is always going to look different within your organization, depending on what tools you use. For meetings, maybe Zoom might work best. When it comes to your everyday communications, it might be on one channel. When it comes to your meetings, it might be on another channel. What we use for our organization is Google. We use Google Meet because it has really good plugins with Gemini, which allow us to take notes really nicely. That pretty much sums up the communication aspect of it. It's going to be different. It's going to look different for everybody. But actually, before I forget, you also want to prioritize certain communication. So if something is urgent, you want to bypass maybe the chat on the project management. Make that a call. Make it a direct call. Maybe you go to that WhatsApp. That's what we do for our organization. We still use WhatsApp for urgent calls because it allows us to make calls all over the world just through Wi-Fi for free. When it comes to just everyday, day-to-day things, we go to the project management software where we have everything in the individual categories and individual tasks separated for whoever it's relevant to. So that's one thing you want to make sure you keep in mind is you want to communicate and also put that in your operations manual. When it comes to urgent messages, make sure you call. When it comes to day-to-day matters, we go to our primary communication channel. Another thing to keep in mind when building a remote team and scaling a remote team is time zones. Time zones at first might feel daunting. They might feel like something that are a bigger hindrance than they are a benefit to you. However, you have to change the way you look at it. At first, when it comes to hiring a remote team, especially when it comes to keeping your costs low, what you want to do is make sure you look for nations that have a different conversion rate than yours, that primarily work towards your benefit as a business owner, because then you're able to get top level talent for a better rate for your business. And by doing that, you might have to work with different time zones. However, it's really beneficial once you find the right talent. For example, I have a team out in the Philippines, and what I had to do at the start is shift my sleeping schedule a little bit. I had to stay up a little bit later so that I could interview and talk to more people at a better time for them than it was for me, until I could actually build a team that could help me do what I need to do with my operations over here. One of the things to keep in mind as well is that certain places around the world have a different night culture. Because it is popular to work remotely in other countries, you will find that there are people that are willing to work while you sleep over here. So at the start, it might seem as if it's a challenge to have to hire them at a different time than maybe what you're used to. It's not going to be the 9 to 5 hiring schedule that you're used to. It's going to be potentially a 5 to midnight, 5 to 1 o'clock type of hiring schedule until you find those key players. And then you really fill your time blocks within your business effectively to help you scale with whatever your operation is. Another thing to keep in mind when managing your remote team is accountability without micromanaging. It's easier than you think to encourage accountability without micromanaging. Every day, take the time to write a quick message that has what you did yesterday, what you're working on today, and what's blocking you. It takes about 60 seconds to write, and then from there, you know exactly what's moving and what's being blocked without being annoyed. This next point, you want to make sure that you can build relationships with your team, and yes, you can do that remotely. You want to make sure that that's one of your priorities, as you'll never get good results if your team isn't happy coming to work and doing what they need to do. So often, take some time to do one-on-ones with your team. It might take some time, maybe do it every couple months, but take some time to go one-on-one with every single individual in your team. Talk about what's going on, what's happening, what's blocking them, what's helping them, what are their goals. It'll help you build a better picture of how you can then optimize your operation to then be able to have that also be a vehicle for them to reach their goals. Last point is systems over hustle. Hustle sometimes just isn't there. But if you have systems, it'll allow you to have better, more predictable results. This is always going to look different, but you want to make sure that your systems are there and are able to give you those exact predictable results. You want to find ways to minimize bottlenecks. You want to find ways to minimize confusion, speed up things. You can automate with recurring tasks, but essentially just create repeatable systems that you can scale without burning out. Look, managing a remote team isn't easy, but culture, communication, all these little aspects work together to actually build something that allows you to scale a company beyond your dreams. So if this helped, make sure you hit the like button. If you have any questions, make sure you leave them down below. Share this video with anyone that you might think would get value from it, and I'll see you in the next one.